Ayun na nga ho mga kababayan na hindi lang ho tayong nakakapansin, maging yung mga kasama ho natin dito sa PH Update, napupuna na medyo matamlay na magtanong itong mga congressman dyan sa mga ginaganap na hearing dyan sa House of Representatives. Pero bago natin umpisahan ang ating talakayan dito sa video na to, wala na naman hong napala itong si Congressman Rog Gutierrez sa mga dumalong resource person dyan sa ginaganap na pagdinig dyan sa House of Representatives. Isang like at isang subscribe. Masaya na ho tayo dyan at sa mga gusto sumali sa ating community, yung join button nandyan lang ho sa baba. Ayun na nga mga kababayan, panoorin ho natin ang buong video.
To express our gratitude for our resource persons who have attended here. I know for the most part of our hearing, we've been discussing about the attendance of the other resource persons, and I hope at the next hearing we can do the same. Na nandito po sila. But in the meantime, I think we would like, siguro I will start, Mr. Chair, to direct my questions to Ms. Julieta Villa del Rey. Good morning po. Mr. Chair, if I may proceed.
Yes, please proceed.
Mr. Chair, before other matters po, no, on what we have in the agenda, just some preliminary matters on, I believe you have submitted, Mr. Chair, some statements together with Attorney Sanchez to this committee. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
Good morning, Your
Attorney
Honor.
Julieta,
Yes,
you're recognized.
I submitted
Yes.
a statement po.
Thank you. I'd like to focus on some procedural matters.
Ma'am,
po muna on that statement.
pakilakasan po ninyo at ilapit po ninyo yung mic para marinig po kayo.
Yes.
Thank you po.
Good morning, Your Honors. It may be allowed to read my statement.
Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, I think we've had this in advance and we were able to read it. And I think we're aware if we may proceed with the questioning, unless the committee members would like to hear the statement. Parang hindi naman po.
Yung statement po bang babasahin ninyo, hindi po yung sinubmit ninyo sa amin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, nabasa na po namin lahat yon. So, we will proceed to the interpellation. Yes, please
you.
continue.
So just,
Congressman Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Villa del Rey po, no? Just working on the statement po, no? May I just like to ask, how do you know po si Attorney Abella?
Attorney,
Abella po.
he is our counsel, Your Honor.
He's your counsel?
Abelia.
Attorney Abella?
I don't know Attorney Abelia, sir.
You don't know an Attorney Abella. Attorney Rochelle Abella.
No, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, maybe ask the Attorney Sanchez. Do you know Mr. Attorney Abella?
Your Honor, yes, Mr. Chair. Attorney Abella is one of the staff in the Office of the Vice President.
Oh, one of the staff in the Office of the Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Back to Ms. Villa del Rey. Is it more familiar now to you po?
Hindi ako masyadong familiar sa lahat ng employees of the Office of the Vice President.
Ms. Sanchez, I hope you don't mind, Mr. Chair. I know it's unorthodox, but I'd like to, because of the point I'm driving at, I'd like to toss in between the two resource persons. One, I'll just go quickly between them.
Please continue.
Attorney Sanchez, through the chair, most respectfully. Si Attorney Abella, you've known Attorney Abella for quite some time.
Your Honor, yes, Your Honor. She joined the OVP, I think, sometime this year, if I am correct, Your Honor.
Can you describe how she looks po ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Attorney Abella is fairly tall and slim.
Okay. Are there a lot of attorneys in the Office of the OVP?
Currently, Your Honor, there are only around 4 attorneys under the Legal Affairs Division. But there are other lawyers in the Office of the Vice President performing other functions, Your Honor.
Would you consider Attorney Abella a fairly prominent lawyer in the OVP? Is she all over the place po ba? Or?
No, Your Honor. Attorney Abella does not report daily at the Office of the Vice President. Her tasks, from what I know, because I am not the head of the Legal Affairs Division, are mainly on execution of non-disclosure agreements and other documents and contracts for the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Okay, so si Attorney Abella is mostly tasked with preparation of NDAs and you mentioned, sorry, can you repeat it for us, please?
Contracts and other documents, Your Honor.
Is she also tasked with preparing statements for
I'm not
the
aware,
OVP?
Your Honor.
Not aware. But she, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Attorney Abella is a person who, although is not on site, would sometimes be on site.
Most of the days, I think, in the week, she is on site, Your Honor.
And her office is her outside, her external office. Would you know kung saan po ito?
No, Your Honor.
No, so just the internal office. And
Yes,
all
Your
of
Honor.
your interactions with Attorney Abella have been inside the office of the OVP.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've never interacted with Attorney Abella outside the OVP.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'd like to return my question po to Ms. Villa del Rey. After the description po, no?
Attorney Rog, I will just like to interject in line
course.
with your line of questioning. Saan po ba yung official office po ni OVP?
Mr. Chair, the official office of the OVP is at the 11th floor, Robinson Cybergate Plaza, Mandaluyong City. Your Honor.
Mandaluyong.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Billy Del Rey, so after the descriptions, given the job description and actual physical description and office description of Ms. Abella, hindi pa rin po familiar po sa inyo?
I remember now, Your Honor, si Attorney Abella po is once pumunta sa office.
Once po
accounting.
sa office. In any instance, did you go to her office?
No, sir. She went to my office.
To the office. What was the concern po kung why she went to your office?
Ang natatandaan ko lang po naging interaction niya sa akin is kinumusta niya ako.
Nothing official? Has she not done anything, preparation of any documents of any kind for you, Ms. Billy Del Rey?
None, sir.
Congressman Rog, for a while. Saan po yung office ninyo?
Same office po, Cybergate Plaza, Mandaluyong.
So, doon din po. So, doon din po yung office ni Attorney Abella. Tama din po. As staff of the OVP. Tama po ba? Attorney Sanchez, tama po ba?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Please continue, Congressman Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Billy Del Rey, you confirmed the once po you've interacted with Attorney Abella. Si Attorney Sanchez po, through the Honorable Chairman, have you had any recent interactions with Attorney Abella?
Your Honor, from time to time, Your Honor, regarding work.
More
Your Honor.
specifically, do you recall having an interaction with Attorney Abella last November 9?
Your Honor, through phone conversation, Your Honor, she asked me to send a copy of my ID, Your Honor.
Copy of your ID. Would you know
Yes.
the purpose of the copy of the ID?
I think, Your Honor, it is for her to notarize a statement that I executed, Your Honor.
And you did not have an interaction with her aside from the phone call?
Phone call only, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Ms. Billy Del Rey, do you recall a similar interaction with Attorney Abella noong November 9 po?
November 9, Your Honor, yes. When she asked to also send a copy of my ID.
Okay. And you are aware of the purpose also was to notarize po? Is it the same purpose as Attorney Sanchez?
Yes, Your Honor, to notarize po itong statement.
Can you clarify po for us, this statement, this is of your own volition, tama po ba?
Tama po.
And you
Your Honor.
prepared this yourself?
Tama po.
And you sent this to Attorney Abella?
Your Honor.
Pinadala mo po ito kay Attorney Abella?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you did not appear personally to have it notarized?
Pinadala ko po ito sa Office of the Legal Affairs.
Pinadala sa Office of Legal Affairs. And they did not ask for your physical presence for the signing of the document?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Another
Attorney Sa-
clarification. Where were you when you received a phone call from Attorney Abella? You were in your office?
I was in my office, Your Honor.
In
In Mandaluyong.
in
City, Your
Mandaluyong.
Honor.
How about you, Ma'am Villa Del Rey? Where were you?
Also in Mandaluyong, Your Honor.
Okay. In both dates, in both instances, November 9, you were both in Mandaluyong. Tama po ba? And that was the time when you received phone call from Attorney Abella. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, may I just correct? It was through the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division, Your Honor.
Ano po?
It was through the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division. She was on the phone with Attorney Abella, and she relayed a message. But I was with her at that time, Your Honor.
You were with
The Chief of the Legal Affairs Division.
Chief of the
Your
Legal Affairs
Honor. In Mandaluyong.
in Mandaluyong.
Yes,
How about you,
Your
ma'am?
Honor.
Same.
Same.
Same po.
In Mandaluyong din.
In Mandaluyong
Okay,
also,
thank
sir.
you po. Please continue, Congressman Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So proceeding from that, Attorney Sanchez, would you say you had the same instance, the same procedure for the notarization of your document? So you prepared the statement, you signed it, tapos pinadala na lang po.
Your Honor, I signed it at the time that, in front of the Chief of the Legal Affairs Division, Your Honor. I handed it over, Your Honor.
Okay, you signed it in front of the Chief of the Legal Affairs
Yes, Your
Division.
Honor.
Was Attorney Abella present?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'd just like to have that procedural fact noted by the committee. Actually, I might be mistaken, but from my understanding, based on notarial rules, the affiant should actually sign the document in front of the notary. So it's just concerning po na they have that procedure in which they prepared the statement, they signed it, then pinadala na lang po. In fact, they admitted to the fact that the ID was just asked over the phone for the appointment notary. But to clarify po for the committee, this is not. Unfortunately, this has become a practice sometimes for notarial services, and sometimes it's overlooked. However, what's important to stress and to bear in relation to the proceedings here is that Attorney Abella is not only notarizing a regular statement. This is a statement before this House. And aside from that, Attorney Abella's signature, Attorney Abella's notarization actually appears in other significant documents. I'm not sure if Attorney Sanchez would be aware, being Chief of Admin po ba and Finance. And I'm not sure if Ms. Villa Del Rey is aware also, being Chief of Accountant. But Attorney Abella's notarial stamp, notarial imprimatur, appears not only in their statements, which they have prepared, but has actually appeared in, I believe, the liquidation reports po ng OVP confidential funds. So it brings a question, kung magkakaroon po, the whole purpose of the notarial procedure is to verify as officers of the court to allow persons to execute statements under oath, in a way. So the purpose of this is to preserve the integrity of the statements made. Now, if there's an issue regarding the procedural, if there are procedural lapses in the notarial services, then it puts into light the veracity, authenticity, and acceptability, admissibility of these documents. So what's stressing for me is that this isn't just only for the statements, which, don't get me wrong, Mr. Chair, this is important for us today because the statements that they'll be presenting is their official testimony to our questions here today, of course. But more importantly, the fact that the same Attorney Abella is the lawyer who notarized the OVP confidential fund certification, the DepEd. Sorry, Mr. Chair, Attorney Abella is in the office of the OVP. Tama po ba, Attorney Sanchez? Maybe clarify, since you're more familiar with Attorney Abella.
Attorney Sanchez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did she have a stint in the Department of Education?
I am not aware, Your Honor.
It's not your personal knowledge, but it's something for us to consider kasi nga po, her signature appears as the as the notary for the OVP confidential funds and the DepEd confidential fund certification, aside from the statements presented today. So I'm not sure, perhaps at the proper time, with the proper motion, should this committee deem wise, we might want to invite Attorney Abella. Although this is not usual practice, I understand that in the courts, usually they would frown upon the act of having to present a notary as a witness. But given the fact that, for example, we can't even get the 9 OVP officials present, perhaps we can invite Attorney Abella, not only for her notarial stamp on the statements of Ms. Villa Del Rey and Attorney Sanchez, but also on the OVP confidential funds and DepEd confidential funds. This is just
Comsec, please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Gutierrez.
a procedural concern. But with that out of the way, Mr. Chair, I'd like now to proceed with some preliminary questions for Ms. Villa Del Rey. So, Mr. Chair, Ms. Villa Del Rey, kayo po yung Chief Accountant ng Office of the Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long na po kayo sa OVP?
Your Honor, I've been in the OVP since 1990, during the last year of VP Laurel.
VP Laurel pa po. So you are a career public servant.
Yes, Your Honor.
So from 1990, that would put you now at 34 years of service po. And in your 34 years of service, may you just quickly give us a rundown? Kailan po kayo naging Chief Accountant?
I was employed in the OVP in 1990. I became an OIC, I cannot recall, but I appointed Chief Accountant in 1998.
That's a quick rise po, no? From 1990 to 1998, kayo po yung naging Chief Accountant. So you have been the Chief Accountant for the OVP for how many administrations now po?
For at least seven po, 7 vice presidents.
And as the Chief Accountant, you are in charge of the accounting division, is that correct?
Tama po, Your Honor.
And part of your duties would include reviewing and processing the disbursements and liquidations of the OVP.
Tama po.
Before anything, I'd like to commend you for your long tenure of service. Maraming salamat po. Given that you're 6 administrations in, I'm pretty sure you are adept and an expert in your field. Given that you are, well experienced in your field, I'm sure you're familiar with yung tinatawag na government accounting manual. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you run down for the committee ano po yung requirements ng government accounting manual in relation to cash advances?
For the cash advances under the regular, Your Honor, there should be fund or allotment to cover the issuance of cash advance. There should be cash allocation. For the travel honor, Your Honor, hindi po required na banded siya, pero for activities, should be banded with the Bureau of the Treasury. There should be special order designating special disbursing officer, Your Honor.
So for yung cash advances po natin, that in the yung GAM na sinasabi, this is the standards for accounting of the government, and this would apply generally to other agencies. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your
Would the GAM on the provisions on cash advances, would that also apply to confidential funds?
No, Your Honor.
And why is that po? What is the standard that you use for for confidential funds?
For the confidential fund, Your Honor, it is covered by the Joint Circular 2015-01.
So, the same joint circular that if you've been following our committee hearings was cited by the ICFAO, yun yung general basis po nila for confidential funds.
Tama po, Your Honor.
Are there provisions in the government accounting manual that would still suppletorily, in a way, apply to cash advances?
Wala po akong natatandaan, Your Honor. Only the Joint Circular.
So there is no requirement that for cash advance for specific purpose or time-bound undertaking, that this should be recorded into the books of accounts as advances to special disbursing officers? Wala po kayong ino-note na ganun po?
Can you repeat, Your Honor?
When you were talking of cash advances for specific purpose or a time-bound undertaking, I'm not sure, I'm not an accountant, but I think this is a very specific definition under the GAM. Tama po ba?
Apo.
Yeah, okay. So with that, do you record it in the books of accounts as advances to special disbursing officers?
Tama po, Your Honor.
So there are some provisions in the GAM that would apply. It's not purely in joint circular. Tama po ba this is a procedure that's outlined in the GAM?
Tama po.
So suppletory naman pala po yung GAM, no? Nagagamit rin po siya even for confidential funds.
Possible po, Your Honor. Pero nakapokus po ako sa joint circular when it comes to confidential fund.
Okay. But do you recall recording yung advances ito to special disbursing officers? Yes, you do. And the relevant provisions actually for the GAM for confidential funds is Chapter 6, apparently. So the process of the cash advance, pagkatanggap po ng check, ini-encash po ito ng SDO. Tama po ba?
As I recall, Your Honor.
As you recall. In this instance, what is your participation po in the handing over of the check? Do you foresee the encashment? Do you oversee the depositing? Ano po yung inyong interaction with the SDO in relation to this?
Your Honor, ang naging task po ng accounting sa issuance ng cash advance is only for processing. For
Meaning,
processing of disbursement voucher, not for issuance of check.
not for the issuance of the check, but the processing of the disbursement voucher. So ano po yung procedure for the processing of the disbursement voucher?
In the processing of a disbursement voucher for confidential fund, it should be supported by all the required supporting documents as stated or as required in the Joint Circular 2015-01.
Okay. So when you say po, hindi po kayo involved sa issuing of the check, are you somehow involved in the encashment or depositing of the check?
For encashment and depositing of the check, it is the SDO,
The
Your
SDO.
Honor.
So no participation required on your part doon sa SDO. They don't need any clearance from you. They don't need you to sign off on anything. It's purely the responsibility of the SDO in line with the provisions of the joint circular. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, are you aware of the procedure? Just on personal knowledge, kapag tinatanggap na po ng SDO, of course, we'd like to ask the SDO himself or herself these questions, but given na wala po sila, we'd like to ask you as chief accountant, kasi po, I hope you understand, minsan nalilito rin po kami as not actually practitioners in this field. Marami pong accountants and auditors pala po, no, within one office. But it's understandable na special po in confidential funds. So in relation to confidential funds po, Ms. Villa Del Rey, you mentioned that you have no participation in the encashment and no participation in depositing of any sorts. But are you aware of the procedure of the SDO? Ano pong ginagawa po niya pag nakatanggap ng cheque for the confidential funds?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, hindi ko po alam. Bali, ang task ko lang po talaga is to process the issuance of cash advance for
Okay.
the confidential fund.
Sige po. Ms. Villa Del Rey, ayon po sa GAM, required pong mag-institute ng internal mechanisms or internal controls ng OVP to safeguard po yung mga cash advances. And I would assume this would also apply to confidential funds. Are you aware of any safeguards that are being implemented for the OVP's confidential funds?
For the regular funds, Your Honor, yes, we have po controls. Like it should be liquidated within 15 days from issuance or upon completion of the activity.
For the regular fund. But for
Regular
confidential
fund.
funds, are you aware of any controls that you might have implemented as chief accountant?
Yes, Your Honor, according to Joint Circular, there should be reportorial requirements. Like for accounting, the issuance of cash advance is, or upon disbursement of the cash advance, it should be submitted to the audit team, resident auditor, within 7 days from issuance, so, Your Honor, including all supporting documents.
Ms. Villa Del Rey, when you mentioned resident auditor, you're talking about the resident auditor of the COA. Tama po ba?
Tama po.
Okay. So, do you have any participation in the vetting or authentication or going through the supporting documents ng confidential funds?
Supporting documents, Your Honor, for the issuance of cash advance.
Issuance of cash advance only. Pero for the liquidation, wala na po kayong ginalaman.
Wala na po, Your Honor.
So, you would not be involved with the documentary evidence of payment for yung mga acknowledgement receipts, etc., etc.
No, Your Honor. Based on Joint Circular, it should be the responsibility of the Special Disbursing Officer.
And never at any point, even procedurally, dumaan po itong mga SDs or DEPs sa kamay po ninyo. This is directly between the SDO and the resident auditor. Tama po ba?
The DBs of the issuance of cash advance, yun po ang dumaan sa accounting sa akin. Other DBs na nagkaroon ang disbursement ng confidential fund, hindi po dumaan sa accounting, Your Honor.
By DVs, you mean yung disbursement vouchers po? Tama.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you, as chief accountant, are you required to review a journal entry voucher?
Yes, Your Honor.
Does this apply for confidential funds?
Yes, Your Honor, upon recording of the issuance of cash advance.
So upon the issuance of cash advance, this is still related to the disbursement voucher lang po.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you review the journal entry voucher, you have to certify it. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So ano po yung nalalaman ng certification na ito?
For the certification of the issuance of cash advance, in the voucher, Your Honor, it is stated that there should be cash available and supporting documents complete and proper.
So when you issue po yung disbursement voucher, is it a requirement, for example? Because I understand yung ating confidential funds is, except for 2022 po, no, which was issued by virtue of yung contingent fund na nilipat, under the GAA po, yung confidential funds natin for 2023. Tama po. Is it a requirement in the subsequent disbursement vouchers that you would have to certify na inubos po yung previous quarter?
Yes, Your Honor, before the issuance of another cash advance.
And how do you verify po na naubos yung previous disbursement yung previous cash advance?
Sir, for the liquidation of previous cash advance, it is stated in the joint circular and also ito lang din po yung naging basis ko, the received transmittal copy of the supporting documents duly stamped by ICPAW.
Okay, so ang procedure po natin is the SDO will submit the liquidation report to the resident auditor, the ICFA will stamp and then provide it po to you, Mr. Villidere. Is it provided to you by the SDO or by the COA po?
By the SDO, sir.
Si SDO. And when you receive this stamped copy po ng liquidation report, ministerial na lang po yung pag-issue po ninyo ng disbursement voucher for the next quarter. Tama po ba?
Not the liquidation report, Your
Oh,
Honor,
sorry.
only the transmittal. Listing po lahat ng documentary requirements, all reports and certifications submitted to ICPAW.
So yung listing na po ito, how many pages ang document na ito?
I think, kung tama pa yung pagkakarecall ko, it's 3 pages po.
So manipis lang po. So talagang walang liquidation report, walang AR, walang SD. It's just the letter of transmittal lang po. Parang ganun.
Tama po.
Okay. So in that case po, in relation to the GAM and the joint circular, what is it that you would record in the books as chief accountant? It's really just disbursement to the SDO.
Your Honor, ang recording ko po sa book is the issuance of the cash advance when issued to the SDO and the liquidation of the cash advance upon receipt of the transmittal duly received by ICPAW.
Okay. Ms. Villidere, as chief accountant, you would confirm that there is a general ledger.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the general ledger, the purpose is to keep a record of all of these. Would that include the supporting documents?
No, Your Honor.
So before you make an entry in the general ledger, do you have to go through the supporting documents?
Only for cash advance, Your Honor.
So for cash advance. In this case po, sa confidential funds, this is one such cash advance po, no? So
Yes.
before you enter it in the general ledger, what documents would you be requiring before you make that entry in the general ledger?
Before entering into to the general ledger, sir, we will the basis of our recording is the report of the checks issued from our cash division and a copy of the disbursement voucher together with the supporting documents.
Okay. Checks issued, disbursement voucher, and supporting documents. Can you give us an example? Ano po yung SDs that are relevant to this entry?
SD
Anong supporting documents
supporting
po na
documents.
binabanggit po ninyo?
Yes, sir. For the issuance of cash advance, supporting documents required are a special order of the disbursing officer designated by the HOA, approved banding from the BTR, copy of the SARO and NCA, specimen signature of all signatories in DBs and ORS. What else? That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So really, it's related to disbursement lang talaga. Ms. Villidere, can you, I'm sorry, we're not too familiar, pero can you distinguish yung general and subsidiary ledger?
General ledger, sir, is the basis of the trial balance. Subsidiary ledger pertaining to the individual accounts.
And do you maintain a subsidiary ledger for the confidential funds?
For the SDO, Your Honor.
For the office of the SDO? And ano po yung lalabas po dito sa subsidiary ledger? It's just per check? Per
Yes,
entry?
sir. The recording of the cash advance and upon liquidation, also the crediting of the cash advance.
Does the SDO have to report to you for entry into the subsidiary ledger, yung different tranches of which that they, whether they encash or deposit the quarterly confidential funds, or isang bagsakan lang po ito sa inyong ledger?
Isang report lang po. Isang report lang from report of checks issued.
Isang report lang po talaga of checks issued. So generally, in that subsidiary ledger for the SDO, ano pa po ang mga entries ninyo aside from dun sa confidential funds? Are there any other transactions or accounts that you have to record that concerns the SDO?
Your Honor, only the date of the check number, the details po, like if it is for the first quarter, second quarter, and the amount only.
So it's a quarterly thing po talaga. I know you answered this earlier, but just to clarify, so ang magre-reflect po sa subsidiary record is yung one-time cash. Hindi po siya daily releases or disbursements.
No,
Who
Your
would have the
Honor.
record of any daily release or disbursement?
Per JC, Your Honor, it is the SDO.
The SDO's responsibility. And I know it's no longer part of your responsibility, but of your personal knowledge, nagpapatulong po ba yung ating SDO sa inyo, ang SDO ng OVP, when it comes to recording things in as per requirement of the joint circular?
No, Your Honor.
So just to clarify, and the process is yung interaction po ninyo with the SDO is purely upon receipt of the request po ba yun, or yung transmittal, you will then certify into the ledger. Sorry, can you repeat again to us? As a summary na lang po, no? Kasi I know chinap-chap na po natin, pero give us a summary of your interactions with yung SDO in particular.
Actually po, wala po akong interaction sa SDO, only the reports. When the disbursement voucher for cash advance is forwarded to accounting, wala po akong interaction sa SDO. When we recorded it in the books of accounts, wala din po. And when we liquidate it, wala din po because only through documents po kami nagbe-base.
Okay, documents na po. Okay, although you don't interact with the SDO particularly, personal knowledge po, in what instances do you interact with their office? Through documents. So this is purely for confidential funds only. Walang ibang entry, walang ibang transaction that would require documentation or certification on your part po.
For the liquidation, Your Honor, I signed the liquidation report.
Oh, you signed the liquidation report. And what is the purpose of your signature po sa liquidation report?
For the liquidation report, Your Honor, I certify that all supporting documents in the issuance of cash advance are proper and complete. Also in the transmittal forwarded, sir.
I understand po earlier you mentioned na as far as you're concerned with the general and subsidiary ledgers of the OVP, wala po kayong, hindi po dumadaan po sa inyo yung acknowledgement receipts, documentary evidence of payment, and other supporting documents. Sabi niyo po yun earlier, tama po ba?
Tama po.
But now you're saying po na in the liquidation report, you certify that you have reviewed all of these supporting documents.
The supporting documents, sir, that I mentioned is all supporting documents attached to the issuance of cash advance.
But you mentioned you signed yung liquidation report itself.
Only the liquidation report as annexed in the joint circular, Your Honor.
So yung liquidation report as annexed in the joint circular, and
Yes.
what you are certifying there is that you've gone through all of the supporting documents. Tama po ba? So would this not include yung ating acknowledgement receipts and documentary evidence of payment?
Sir, in the JC, hindi po included sa responsibilities ng accountant ang review of the documents evidencing payments.
So, sorry, I hope you can forgive the confusion, no? Kasi earlier you mentioned when you go through the supporting documents and other, yung mga supporting documents lang, you were talking about for signing of the disbursement voucher to release the check po, no?
The cash advance.
The cash advance. But in this case of the liquidation report, this is already post-disbursement, tama po ba? The liquidation report is already talking about the quarter that has lapsed. So you are signing on supporting documents there. What supporting documents po are you certifying in that case?
Sir, the supporting documents of the liquidation, not necessarily po yung documents evidencing payments. It is under the responsibility only of the Special Disbursing Officer, and the audit of this is through ICPAO.
No, I understand what you're saying is that it's not necessarily your responsibility, but you do have a certification there that you have gone through all the supporting documents. So how do we distinguish which supporting documents are verified or certified or prepared by the SDO and which supporting documents are verified or prepared by the chief accountant? Could you please clarify to us po, which particular supporting documents are you certifying?
Yes, the supporting documents I certified po as complete and proper is the supporting documents also to be submitted sa ICPAO, which is also the attached documents of the cash advance.
But the acknowledgement receipts and DEPs are also submitted to the ICFAO, is that correct?
Yes, sir, but it is through a sealed envelope signed by the SDO.
Okay, so the documents that are not sealed, in which you certify, would be specifically, could you enumerate for us po? Sorry?
Yes, sir. The special order,
Special order.
the same attachment of the cash advance, special order, the approved banding, specimen signatures of all the signatories, the copy of the SBR, the physical and financial plan of the confidential plan. That's I can remember, Your Honor.
Thank you. Of course, marami po yan. So, Ms. Villadere, you mentioned that this is the same SDs that are in the disbursement voucher.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, kung ano po yung sinertify and sinubmit nyo for the disbursement voucher prior to the cash advance, yun rin po that is what you're referring to po na ina-attach ulit sa liquidation report submitting to the ICFAO. That is what you are certifying to.
Yes, Your
Although
Honor.
the terms in the certification are all documents. You are testifying now that it's only in relation to these particular documents that you have mentioned. Tama po.
Tama po.
Thank you po for the clarification, Ms. Villadere. Mr. Chair, if I would still have some time, I'd like to ask just a few preliminary questions to Attorney Sanchez.
Yes, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Sanchez, kayo po ay dinesignate bilang officer in charge, Chief of Staff of the OVP na inaprobahan ni VP. Tama po ba?
Mr. Chair, may I know the period covered, Mr. Chair?
I'm just referring to the Office Order number 2024-56. But if you'd like to testify about any period, you are free to answer. Hindi naman po to yes or no.
Mr. Chair, there are different periods, if I recall, that I was assigned as the OIC of the Office of the Chief of Staff here.
In which
Mr.
case
Chair.
po, can you please relate to this committee? What time periods po kayo ay naging OIC? And if you can confirm that OIC pa rin po kayo ngayon.
Mr. Chair, I cannot recall the specific periods, Mr. Chair, but I can trace the office orders or special orders designating me as the OIC, Mr. Chair.
Could you give us at least a ballpark, not figure, a ballpark duration? Which months po kayo naging Chief of OIC? And I'm sure if natapos po yung inyong pagiging OIC, that means may na-appoint na actual Chief of Staff. And then naging OIC naman po kayo. Am I understanding your story correctly?
No, Mr. Chair. I would just like to clarify that I am only appointed as the OIC for the Office of the Chief of Staff whenever the Chief of Staff and the Assistant Chief of Staff are not available in the office, Your Honor.
Okay, so this is a temporary thing.
Yes,
Hindi
Your
naman po
Honor.
siya yung dahil wala pa yung Chief of Staff.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ang sabi po sa Office Order 2024-56 is mayroong travel ang Chief of Staff na si Attorney Zuleika Lopez at Assistant Chief of Staff na si Lemuel Ortonio on October 18, 2024. So let's zero in on this one time. Do you recall this? You recall this order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you relate to us ano po yung official travel ni Attorney Lopez and the Assistant Chief of Staff Ortonio?
Your Honor, from what I recall, they had to travel to Davao, Your Honor.
To Davao. And would you
Yes.
recall the duration of this?
I do not recall, Your Honor. I can trace the travel order, Your Honor, and provide this committee with it, Your Honor.
Okay. One last preliminary question. Bilang OIC, would you say you're relatively capable or familiar with the office of at least of the Chief of Staff?
Your Honor, as OIC, I only perform functions which are specifically designated to me, Your Honor. So I still am able to get direct instructions from the Chief of Staff even during the period that she is not in the office, Your Honor.
Even when she is abroad?
Yes, Your Honor.
One more question. Bilang, sorry, can you clarify? Masyadong maliit yung name tag. You are director for what department?
For Administrative and Financial Services Office, Your Honor.
Okay. Financial services. Do you have any interactions or any role in the disbursement of yung confidential funds?
Your Honor, my participation in the disbursement of confidential funds is just limited as one of the signatories of the checks for the cash advance, Your Honor.
So checks for the cash advance which are being verified by Ms. Billy Del Rey for disbursement lang.
Yes,
So
Your
you
Honor.
have no participation in yung tranches. For example, yung for 2022 of December, 125 million. Kay Ms. Billy Del Rey, they will only record it as one whole 125 million. But as Director for Finance, would you have any knowledge as to the breakdown of that 125 million and live kung kailan to dinidisburse?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I have no personal knowledge on that matter.
Okay. Thank you very much, Attorney Sanchez. Mr. Chair, I'll now yield the floor to other interpellators. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Gutierrez. The next interpolator is Congresswoman Pami Zamora. You're now ready.
Ayun na nga mga kababayan, dito na una tatapusin ang ating video na to. No? Wala hong napala itong si Congressman Rog Gutierrez sa pagtatanong niya sa mga inimbitahan nilang resource person dyan sa House of Representatives. Maraming salamat to, mag-ingat po kayo lahat.